Scamming is something becoming more and more relevant of a discussion the more technologically advanced we become. Since computers and the internet have hit the mainstream, scamming has become far more of a prevalent issue that has affected many people who simply don't know better. However, many people foolishly underestimate scams, and how common it really is. Scammers have over the course of several millennia perfected their works and can today accurately provoke emotions in a large majority of people, using their vulnerabilities to extract financial gain. I aim to attempt to find out how scammers go about their deceit, how they implement certain tactics, and most importantly why so many people fall for it. It might be easy to just write off the victims as less than us and simply not as intelligent, therefore we are safe. But the unfortunate reality is that scammers don't abuse your lack of intelligence, but instead your emotions, insecurities, and trust. There are a couple of ways a scammer can go about tricking you. The most common way scammers on the internet trick you is through the use of fear. These scams are very well documented, and here's an example. A grandma gets an email or a call, supposedly sent by an insurance company telling them to extend insurance on a product they own. Now, in reality, it is not the insurance company calling them, it's one of the hundreds of callers sitting in a call center somewhere in the northeastern part of India. Since nobody wants to pay outrageous sums for products they know they have paid a lot of money for, the scammers can exploit the sense of fear and basically sell them air. Actually, it's worse than that, since you could actually breathe air. What you get from the scammer is your time wasted and money stolen. Callers in these centers call several hundred to thousands of times a day, which eventually makes them exceptionally skilled conversationalists and salespeople. They also learn the most obscure but effective tricks to deceive you into trusting them. But not only call centers are known to trick customers. When it comes to video games and the industry surrounding them, anyone who's been interested in games for more than a year can with confidence tell you about at least a couple of recent scandals where a video game was hyped up and later released with many of the promised features and graphics were removed to make the set release date. Sometimes the studio even decides that $60 or $70 isn't enough money to take from you already, so they add forms of scummy microtransactions to their games in the forms of DLC and loot boxes. Cyberpunk 2077 is a very famous recent example of the former of deception in the video game industry. It's very well documented that the developer CDPR didn't even start major development on the game until even 2018, well after the first teaser dropped 5 years before that in 2013. During the E3 presentation in 2018, we were shown an almost 50-minute video breakdown of gameplay. Now, even though a majority of the footage was shown to be included in the game at release, many of the shown features have still not made it into the game in 2023. This is because the gameplay really wasn't gameplay. It was just a rendered video made to look like gameplay. With the technology available, they weren't able to make a real video game with the scope that they had set, but they chose to hide that fact and continued the lie up until launch. As we all remember, that was a disaster. But what is important to remember is that during some stage of development, they had to have realized they wouldn't be able to deliver on their promises, and that previous gen consoles would perform like they eventually did. At some point, they had to decide if they were going to change course and tell everyone how it was, or to continue the lie and hope the backlash wouldn't be that bad when the curtains would inevitably be unveiled. They obviously chose option 2. In the long run, they were always going to have a chance of rebuilding the game and regaining the confidence of investors and gamers. This means they intentionally made the choice to deceive people to make more money, and in the long run, they always could rebuild their brand. Today hardly anyone has anything negative to say about the game, and with the new DLC releasing this year, CDPR has never looked so good in the eyes of consumers. This kind of scam is harder to notice since they play such a long game of chess when it comes to the confidence of investors and consumers. But it's important to understand that morals absolutely do not play any kind of role in the video game industry. If it's cheaper to lie and scam the gamer, without losing money or the faith of buyers, then it's an easy choice. And the vast majority of gamers have been fooled in this way, being promised an experience far more worth than $60, making up hype, and getting you excited enough to pre-order. And when the game releases, the only reason you wanted the game has been taken out and replaced with common generic noise, just entertaining enough to keep you from speaking out. I also covered how self-help and the red pill scams its followers in this video, so make sure to check that out if you're interested. People who have never been scammed often believe that they are more intelligent than other people, therefore they are less likely to fall for it. This is however a very bad mentality when it comes to scams. You might let your guard down and become complacent, making you the perfect target. And even if you do get deceived, you might not even realize it and can make excuses. This is very destructive since people like this can't self-criticize, and usually make the same mistakes multiple times. Call centers often exchange information about victims they succeeded in scamming. This means that there is a minority of people getting deceived the majority of the time. The people who are the most vulnerable are of course people who are very trusting and agreeable. People who automatically have the mindset that others have similar values as them, and those who believe that it's highly unlikely that people wish them harm, leave themselves open for attacks and deception. If you are very trusting, it might be difficult to be able to resist the very effective tactics scammers use. And blaming the victims is not a solution. Scammers often use many tricks in combination to ensure the best results. One of the most common ones is urgency. The scammer will tell the victim that they have to act as quickly as possible to make sure they don't miss out, or even lose money. They will often get aggressive to strengthen their message of urgency. People who are more agreeable will of course seek to hide from such an altercation and can be convinced for the sake of avoiding conflict. If someone tells you that you need to act as fast as possible regarding money, it's very likely they're trying to deceive you. Another very commonly used tactic is to exploit the herd mentality. Many people get themselves into situations concerning money where the only credibility is that other people already partake. For example, there have recently been many scandals involving cryptocurrency and NFTs. Since the people behind these scams are already famous and have millions of followers on social media, other people who haven't done their research simply see that many other people have put their trust in the project. Therefore they assume that it's legitimate. Another motivation for victims of crypto scams to invest in projects is their innate greed. The scammer uses other people's desire to become rich quickly, which leaves them open to deceit. Probably the most effective way of scamming is to earn trust. There are a couple of ways to do this. One is to simply appear helpful. If someone helps you with a thing you need help with, that shows that they're capable, they care about you and they want you to succeed. Once trust is established, the scammer can convince you to do things you'd normally never do on the internet. They can also distract you from the fact that they want your money by making a request that doesn't involve it. Even better for establishing trust than having someone do something for you, is doing something for someone else. A scammer might also pose as some form of authority, which makes you more inclined to follow their instructions and commands. We all drive slower when a police car is near, and we all get nervous when we see guns. If we perceive that someone else has more power than us, we act differently. Scamming has always been a part of society, and to make sure you don't become a victim yourself, you have to take it upon yourself to be critical of other people's motives, since that is what truly defines each person. This is smart, not only in situations where people are trying to scam, this is something that should be done during everyday life. While most people do have good intentions and don't mean you harm, it only takes one apple to spoil the rest. It's better to know the fact that every human is capable of doing bad things, than simply hoping that bad people won't be interested in you. By learning about human psychology you can find out when another person is manipulative, which can help a tremendous amount when fighting scams. When you understand the games people want you to play, you have the choice not to. And yes, it is harder to unveil scams on the internet, since anonymity is such a big part of it, but by staying informed on the way scammers think, you might have a better chance of not becoming a victim. If you liked the video, press like. If you didn't, press dislike. If you want more videos, subscribe.
Like